I feel a little bit dishevelled this morning after watching that game last night. It was another roller coaster.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it. You've got to give credit for a side that can keep pulling results out when their performances don't really merit it. So you've got to give a lot of credit for the spirit to get themselves into a situation where substitutions are made. The two girls come on, Michelle and Chloe, and they do their jobs and they're effective. And the questions will be asked of people, why aren't they starting? But that's Serena's way of setting up, and she uses substitutes. And what's really refreshing to hear is professional footballers not having any complaint about where they play, how they play, and when they play. And I like that. And that might be just an indication of the evolution of the women's game until they get to a point when they're paid lots of money and they can all become prima donnas and then start jumping up and down telling people what they expect. But, the second half, Italy must be kicking themselves because the game was in their hands. England were better in the second half than they were in the first half. But the interesting thing was the only ball of quality that I saw put in the second half, a goal came from it. I watched, sort of kicking the floor and kicking the screen and kicking chairs around me, thinking, can't you deliver a ball in the box? Even to the point where you've got a corner before you've managed to equalise in the game and you kick the ball straight out. But they've got through, and however you look at it, however you cut it, the methodology of getting an outcome is by any means necessary. That's what Don Charles will talk about in terms of boxing, and obviously it didn't work out for him on the weekend, but notwithstanding that, in this instance, they've got through. Now, it could be said that in a high tide, all boats rise, and what I mean by that is you start playing opposition that you're not expected to beat, like the Spanish, you might find the level of England's performance rises like it did against the Dutch a little bit.
Yes. Well, let's hope that's the case, because they were dreadful first half. Again, the defending for the first goal was really poor, much better in the second half. Tash Dowie actually said on talkSPORT commentary last night, after the Michelle Agyemang rescue act, England will go on and win this. You knew it was going to happen, but boy, did they make hard work of it. And it was like they were trying to squeeze every ounce of drama out of it in the end. And I suppose that, in a sense, made more of an event to it. Let's speak to Lionesses, former Lionesses forward, summariser the last time we did the European Championship with me at Wembley. Lianne Sanderson joins us on the show. Hi, Lianne.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it was a remarkable night, wasn't it? It was drama for the ages. Scarcely believable how the tournament is panning out for England. But you have to credit the resilience of this team. They don't seem to know when they're beaten. And I'm not saying history is repeating itself, but I think 3 years ago, you and I just kept saying the words, where are Russo and Toon? These used to be the big changes. Now, where's Michelle and Chloe?
Yeah, it's unbelievable, really. I'm hanging on to my voice for dear life. And, we were messaging last night, weren't we, Sam, about the game. Be honest, Serena got away with one. I always say in Serena we trust, but I think you have to ride your luck a little bit sometimes in football. I think you make your own luck in life. But I do think, she looks like a tactical genius at times with regards to bringing on these substitutes. But bringing Michelle Agyemang on in the 85th minute, I was going absolutely mental. I was thinking, what is going on? These subs clearly needed... it's easy saying it from this side of the line, Sam, isn't it? With regards to who should be playing and all those types of stuff. But managing at the highest level is a different kettle of fish. So, I'm just so proud of the team. I agree with what Simon said. The resilience has to be said. And we said it in the last World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. The team wasn't playing well, and we managed to get to a final. So those are the characteristics of a top team for me. And I think Serena has laid the foundations. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Serena looks really startled herself. Yeah. She looks quite shocked at times.
But also the surprising thing is the way she's celebrating when the goals go in. It's like a different person, isn't it? She really over-celebrated almost with that goal went in last night. It was almost a sense of relief for her too.
Yeah, and she looks quite shocked, doesn't she? But like I said, I think when you lay down the foundations, all those meetings they have off the pitch, all those types of things that I personally didn't particularly like when I played for England, because we used to have a meeting about a meeting. But I always say I wish Serena was there when I was there, because I just think she's a top manager, top coach. And Michelle Agyemang coming on, 19 years old. 4 games, 3 goals. She's not even started her club career yet. Arsenal sent her out on loan to Brighton, and she's coming back an absolute hero. It's just unbelievable. And Chloe Kelly, missed the penalty, but finishes it in the end. And yes, we did get away with one, but we're in the final, and that's all that really matters, really.
I think the key thing to point out here is that England aren't performing well, but they haven't been playing well for a little while, not consistently well, Lianne.
Against the Dutch, weren't they?
They were good against the Dutch, but I'm talking going back, and you just mentioned it about 2023 as well. Where is this coming from, and why aren't they able to be at their free flowing best and as good as they were 3 years ago? What's happened?
It's weird though, isn't it? Because we can sit here and say that, but we're in another final.
Yeah.
You know, the Lionesses have made the last 7, semi-finals. Serena Wiegmann has made the last 5. It's what she does. And I do believe when you lay the foundations off the pitch and you have all those things, I mean, some coaches prefer to kind of overcoach. For me, the coaching goes on at the training ground. And then when you get to the game on the pitch, that's when you let the players kind of do what they need to do. She's not one of those coaches that kind of is on the sideline, going absolutely mental, like coaches like Mikel Arteta, is she? She's one of those coaches that's very calm usually. But I do think, Italy made some weird substitutions as well. I want to come and talk about them a little bit. I mean, Cristiana Girelli picked up that injury. Obviously, she had to go off. Bonancia, Sofia Cantore went off. Now, Andrea Soncin, I think, has done a fantastic job at Italy. And if I was Italy today, I mean, we saw at the end of the game, this football, isn't it? It's what happens. You can be the best team sometimes. Tactically, defensively, I thought they were exceptional, Italy. But at the same time, individually, we got there in the end. We brought on the substitutions. And I have no idea how we did it, but we did it. And yes, we haven't been playing well, but we're in another final. It's so weird, isn't it?
That's the mentality thing, though, Simon, isn't it? It's that you talk a lot about resilience a lot.
Yeah.
And the reason that they can get out of these matches and these tight spots, even though they aren't playing at their very best, is because they've become an elite mental
there's also
team.
an inherent belief that underpins the fact they've got... I mean, there's good generals and there's lucky generals, and I would suspect that Serena falls into both categories because by Lianne's own assessment, you put Michelle on with 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes, 7 minutes to go. Okay, some injury times, maybe 10 minutes to go. You really are, it's a shot to nothing sort of thing. You'd expect them to be coming on after 70 minutes if you're not creating the kind of outcomes that England clearly weren't creating, throughout the second half. I look at it and say, without being mean-spirited, I think the opposition have a part to play in England's ascendancy because the Swedes should have closed the game out and they should have won the penalty shootout.
Well, they made odd substitutions as well.
And the Italians, had a chance a couple of minutes before England equalised that would have put the game out of sight. And you have to look at that and say, well, some of the opposition's contribution have allowed England to get themselves out from underneath because these games should have been closed out. The Swedes should have closed the game out. It should have been job done for them. And so you have to look at the level that they're playing against. Now we'll see how this luck and how this resilience plays out when they play against a side, like I said, that on paper they might be expected not to beat. Now, I think they'll rise. I think you'll see a level of performance because A, it's a final, and B, the opposition will demand it of them. Now, whether that can produce an outcome, I wouldn't bet against England winning this tournament, and I'm not really overly concerned about the poorness of the performance. We saw England's men get to a final when we were dreadfully concerned by the performances that we saw because they were so drab. I mean, England's women have put in performances in this tournament that have given us something to hold on to. Very rarely did the men, besides the second half of the game against the Dutch, give us a lot to handle. Well, certainly the first half anyway. In the semi-finals, give us much to hang on. So I think there should be a lot more to be upbeat about than downbeat.
Yeah, well, certainly they've managed to get to the final of the European Champions, semi-finals of the 2019 World Cup, final of the 2022 European Championship.
And Serena's record is unarguable. And her 2 successes prior to that, or 2 finals prior to that. You can't just categorise it as... I don't think she's surprised or shocked. I think she's bloody relieved by some of the outcomes. I think that's the exuberance or the jumping around that you're seeing. But this woman's record as an elite coach in women's football is unsurpassable international level, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Changes were made last night, Lianne, and there will be changes, or will there be, for Sunday? What do you reckon she should do here? Left Jess Carter out last night. Chloe Kelly's, she's not just knocking on the door, she's hammering it down, isn't she, to get into the first team?
Yeah, I don't think that substitution at half-time was a correct decision for Beth Mead to come into the game. I know we won the game, but I think Chloe Kelly should be the first one off the bench. Let's be honest, guys. The team looked tired, didn't they? They looked dead on their feet. Fair play to Lucy Bronze. She could barely run from minute one. And I could see she was just trying to get through the game, which she did a fantastic job. Leah Williamson didn't look fit for me. She's leaving the game the other day on crutches in a protective boot, and then she's out there, 3 days later. So I think the rest is, and Ella Toone, a lot of them look tired. Lauren James looked like she picked up an injury. So for me, I think Chloe Kelly has to come back into the team. I feel for Jess Carter, but I think apart from all the other horrible stuff that's going on, her performances haven't been good enough. So Serena did quite a bold thing there in taking her out of the lineup because people are saying it's due to the other horrible stuff that's been going on. No, it's not. She hasn't been good enough, and that she doesn't need me to tell her that. So, Serena did a pretty bold move there. I expect her to go with the same back line. I can't believe Maya Letizia is not getting a look in at all, because for me, she should be the next replacement. Esme Morgan did a relatively good job, but I think Serena will keep the same team. personally, because obviously Serena's very stubborn in her team selection, and that's also fine. But I do think Chloe Kelly, for me, has to start.
We had a rebound penalty scored last night. England won a semi-final with Harry Kane scoring a rebound penalty against Denmark in 2021. England have gone through in a semi-final with a rebound penalty last night. They're going to take it out of the laws of the game. Me and Simon disagreed about this earlier in the week. I said I couldn't believe that there was any point in doing this. That might be the last ever rebound penalty we see in international tournament history.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, though, because they're trying to change football left, right and centre. Ultimately, they have to get referees that can actually referee the game, first and foremost, instead of making up these completely ridiculous rules out of nowhere. But at the same time, I think it was interesting because Ella Toone was following in, wasn't she, Chloe? I mean, the penalties at this tournament have been crazy. 50% of them have been missed. It is absolutely nuts what is going on. But again, you know, for me, the rules, they keep changing them, chopping and changing them like the wind, and it makes no sense. So if it's the last ever one, then I'll take that.
One word, who wins the Euros?
Oh, head and heart, I think Spain. I think Spain will beat Germany. I think Spain, but I hope the Lionesses, obviously. But I can't be biased all the time.
Leanne, thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate that. Leanne Sanderson joining us to reflect on last night's dramatic win. England have reached...
Leanne, they're very balanced, wasn't it?
Yeah, England have reached the final of all the last six, which is very good. Last six men's, women's and under-21s European championships. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? Reached the final of the last six men's, women's and European under-21 championships. How much credit do the FA and St George's Park deserve?
Well, I think that's how much credit does anyone deserve for success is all shared, ultimately. You know, we've got a nation that's got the richest leagues, both in domestic football and across the sexes, so why shouldn't we be producing elite teams? What I've noticed, and going to how Leanne was speaking, is I find it quite refreshing. I'm not a student of the women's game, and I've been critical of it in the past, predominantly because it gets weaponised and used to bash the men's game about what men's game has done to women's football and how it should cost represent and how it should cost pollinate financially. But I've listened to her and Courtney and Leanne speak with a refreshing candour that is often not in the men's game about how this player could be left out, that player could be played, what the manager's doing. And I thought that was quite interesting to be not just toe the line in terms of, well, you know, I want England to win, so I'm going to say England will win. She thinks Spain are going to win, so she's prepared to say it. And I think both her and Courtney have been really good in the times that I've listened to them.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.